Today we're going to look at practice test 1, the math no calculator section. We're only looking at heart of algebra questions, and there are 8 of them. Number 1. If the quantity x minus 1 divided by 3 is equal to k, and k is equal to 3, what is the value of x? How should I start this problem? Anyone know? The correct answer is substitution, of course. We see two equations that are both equal to k. If we want to solve one of them, we can replace k with what it's equal to. This gives me an equation of quantity x minus 1 divided by 3 is equal to 3. Does anyone know what an equation like this is called, or how to solve it? It's a two-step equation. You want to get x all by itself by canceling out the other component parts in a very specific order. You follow the order of operations in reverse. So to cancel out this division of 3, you multiply both sides by 3. On the left, 3 divided by 3 is just 1. It goes away. We're left with x minus 1 is equal to 9. X is still not by itself, so we cancel out subtraction with addition. And we're left with x is equal to 10. Number 3. On Saturday afternoon, Armand sent M text messages each hour for 5 hours, and Tyrone sent P text messages each hour for 4 hours. Important information there. M and P are variables. 5 and 4 are the durations. Which of the following represents the total number of messages sent by Armand and Tyrone on Saturday afternoon? They want the total. So for Armand, he sent M every hour for 5 hours. And Tyrone sent P every hour for 4 hours. This gives me 5M and 4P. It says it wants the total, so we add the two together. Do we get 9MP? No? Why not? Well, there are no like terms to combine here. M's and P's are different variables, so C is actually the answer. Easier than you thought, huh? Kathy is a repair technician for a phone company. Each week, she receives a batch of phones that need repairs. The number of phones that she has left to fix at the end of each day can be estimated with the equation P is equal to 108 minus 23D, where P is the number of phones left, and D is the number of days she has worked that week. What is the meaning of the value 108 in this equation? Let's take this equation, P is equal to 108 minus 23D, and rearrange it a little bit. Change it to P is equal to negative 23D plus 108. Does this look familiar at all? What type of equation is this? Anyone know? It's a y equals mx plus b equation. You could call it slope-intercept, you can call it a linear equation, any of those would be correct. In the context of a graph, your b value, or your y-intercept value, is where the line crosses the y-axis. But in the context of a word problem, we call this the starting value, which could lead us directly to our answer, B, how many phones you start the week with. Another approach to questions like this is to consider the insanity test. We learned early on in the problem that each week Kathy received a new batch of phones. If it took her 108 days to complete repairs, do you think they would keep giving her phones every week? Choices C and D have similar language. They talk about a rate that the phones are fixed at. In linear equations, the word rate should be a clue that we're talking about the slope. So the m value, or the value in front of the variable. For this problem, we see that's negative 23, not 108. Number 6. H is equal to 3a plus 28.6. A pediatrician uses the model above to estimate the height h of a boy in inches in terms of the boy's age a in years between the ages of 2 and 5. Based on the model, what is the estimated increase in inches of a boy's height each year? If we consider these words, estimated increase each year, and we looked at a model, y is equal to mx plus b, Which variable represents an increase each year, do you think? Turns out it's our slope, that is our rate of change. We could identify directly from that 3 is our answer. If you wanted to test some cases, you could create something of a table. If we plug in values like 1, 2, and 3 for A, we get 31.6, 34.6, and 37.6. Each additional year, we are adding 3. And that's why our answer is A. Number 9. 3x plus 4y is equal to negative 23. 2y minus x is equal to negative 19. What is the solution, xy, to the system of equations above? There are 2 primary ways to solve systems of equations. Anyone remember what they are? Or at least one of them? If you said substitution or elimination, nice job. To help identify which technique is best for this problem, we're going to look at the coefficients of the x and y terms. We see 3x, 4y, 2y, and negative 1x. Because there's a 1 in front of x, even though it's negative, I'm going to use substitution to solve this problem. The first step is to solve this second equation for x. So I'm going to take 2y minus x is equal to negative 19. And I could subtract 2y from both sides. This leaves me with a negative x is equal to negative 19 minus 2y. If I divide everything by a negative 1, I'm going to get x is equal to 19 plus 2y. So let's take this equation, move it up here, clear our board a little bit, and we'll plug it into the other equation. We can take, instead of 3x, what x is equal to. So this x here is going to be replaced with 19 plus 2y, like this. Then I distribute the 3. I have 57 plus 6y plus 4y is equal to negative 23. I combine like terms. I get 57 plus 10y is equal to negative 23. I'm going to subtract 57 from both sides. I have 10y is equal to negative 80. And I divide both sides by 10. This tells me that y is equal to negative 8. Now they want, for their solution, the pair xy. I could go back, plug this into one of my equations, and see what x is equal to. But if I look at my answer choice, only b has a value of negative 8 for y. Number 11. b is equal to 2.35 plus 0.25x. c is equal to 1.75 plus 0.40x. In the equations above, b and c represent the price per pound in dollars of beef and chicken, respectively, X weeks after July 1st during last summer. What was the price per pound of beef when it was equal to the price per pound of chicken? This last sentence in particular is quite complex. They tell you what they're looking for in the problem, which is the price per pound of beef, and they tell you the context, when it was equal to the price per pound of chicken, and it refers back to the price per pound of beef. That tells you how to set the problem up. So to substitute, we're going to start with b is equal to c, which is when it was equal to the price per pound of chicken, it being beef, and we're going to replace those with what b and c are equal to. This is the equation that we're going to solve for x. To do so, we're going to move all the x terms to one side and all of the numbers to the other side. It's a little bit confusing because we're dealing with decimals, and this is the no calculator version, but you should be okay. You can see here that I have subtracted 0.25x from both sides, which cancels the x term on the left. We're left with 2.35 is equal to 1.75 plus 0.15x. Then I'm going to subtract 1.75 from both sides. And I'm left with 0.60 is equal to 0.15x. There's a trick you can use here. Instead of dividing both sides by 0.15, which is dividing one decimal by another, you can multiply both sides of the equation by the same thing. They're still equal. In this case, what if I multiplied by 10? Well, that moves the decimal place over. What if I did it twice on both sides? I would be left with 60 is equal to 15x. That's a little bit easier of a problem. I can simply divide both sides by 15, and I get x is equal to 4. Wait a minute, 4 isn't on any of these answer choices. What do I do with that? If we revisit this last sentence, we'll be reminded that we want to find the price per pound of beef at this time. So when x equals 4, what is the price of beef? We substitute, we plug it in. 2.35 plus 0.25 times 4. Well, that's a quarter, and 4 quarters is $1. So 2.35 plus 1 is equal to 3.35. Number 12. A line in the xy plane passes through the origin and has a slope of 1/7. Which of the following points lies on the line? There's a vocabulary term in this problem that's very important. That word is origin. Who can tell me what the origin is in terms of math? It's 0, 0. If we're looking at a coordinate grid, we are looking exactly in the middle, right here. 0, 0, the origin. If we want to consider a slope of 1/7, we often term slope as rise over run. So given our intercept of 0, 0, we're going to rise 1 and run 7. Rise 1 and run 7. Drawing may not be to scale. But let's look at our answer choices. 0, 7 is definitely not going to be correct because the line passes through the origin. So when the x-coordinate was 0, the y-coordinate would be 0. B would represent if I ran 1 and rose 7. That would be somewhere up here, which is not one of these points. 7, 7 would be if I had a slope of 1 over 1 up 1 over 1 up 1, somewhere over here. 14, 2 is probably this point right here. That's your best answer choice. Number 18. X plus y is equal to -9. X plus 2y is equal to -25. According to the system of equations above, what is the value of x? This system could be solved by either substitution or elimination pretty easily. If you notice that they want the value of x, you might choose substitution, just to skip 1 or 2 steps. If I solve the top equation for y, that would look like this. X plus y is equal to -9. Subtract x from both sides. Y is equal to -9 minus x. So let's keep this in mind. Move it up to the side. And we're going to plug this into our second equation. Instead of 2y, we're going to replace y with what it's equal to. So x plus 2, the coefficient for y, can't forget about that, times the quantity -9 minus x is equal to -25. The next step is to distribute the 2, and I'm left with x minus 18 minus 2x is equal to a -25. If I combine like terms, I get -x minus 18 is equal to -25. If I add 18 to both sides, I'm going to get -x is equal to a -7. Divide out the negative ones, I get x is equal to 7. That's my final answer. This was a bubble in.